much of our drug supply is controlled by China?
We're so dependent on China that if they shut the door on sending medicines to us, our hospitals would shut down within a couple of months.
In the case of some drugs, like antibiotics, China has a total stranglehold.
We can't make penicillin anymore. The last penicillin plant in the United States closed in 2004.
Announced yesterday that they were completely stopping all postal service to the United States, Hong Kong. And we get 50% of all of our medical supplies and 91% of our medications from China. So hospitals are going to close. What immediate action will you take to stop this? Hospitals are going to be immediately crippled as soon as next week.
A lot of people aren't talking about this yet, but Hong Kong is going to stop using the U.S. Postal Service on April 27th as a reaction to these tariffs, and this is going to kill people. It is going to quietly kill thousands of people because we get so much medical supplies, prescription drugs out of Hong Kong's ports. And PPE stuff, diagnostic tools, things hospitals rely on. This is going to have huge disruptions to our medical supply chain. And if a diabetic doesn't have insulin in 48 hours, they could fucking die. There are a lot of people that could die if things like that are halted. I asked ChatGPT to give me a breakdown of what this could look like in deaths, and it doesn't look good. Its estimate is that in 1 to 3 months, this could kill around 5,000 people. In over a year, this could kill 100,000 people. And in things like a natural disaster, a pandemic, this would be even worse. Like after Hurricane Maria, like 3,000 people died. Not because of the storm, but because they couldn't get medical supplies and their prescriptions and shit. I'm not being dramatic. This is real. And this will kill a lot of people silently. A lot of people won't pay attention and keep track of the deaths that will be caused by this. We need to put pressure on Trump to end these tariffs because this trade war that's going on will kill Americans.
Breaking news, and this video is for entertainment purposes only, TikTok. Hong Kong has said they are stopping all postal service to the United States. What does this mean for the United States? Well, the nurses are saying now that the hospitals could start to close as early as next week. Y'all listening? The hospitals are saying that they could start to have to shut down as early as next week because they get like 98% of all medical supplies from China. And Hong Kong said there will be no supplies, no shipping, no postal, no nothing to the United States. Do you know what that will do to our infrastructure? We're here now. And if an agreement ain't reached, it's no turning back. If we go 2 weeks without any shipments from China, we screwed. We screwed McDuck. We fricassee, barbecue, filet, flambe. We might well put ourselves in the oven and turn it on rotisserie. I'm trying to tell you, the nurses is in full-blown panic mode. They are stressing the fact without those packages from Hong Kong, their medical supplies, lives could be lost. Infrastructure will go down, and hospitals will be forced to close.
All right, Shalom. Giving all praises to Yahweh, Vashim Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. And may the blessing of election be to you, hopefully elect out there, because we're definitely going to need it in these times that we're coming into. All right. This, because, America is known as, I'm going to grab this here, in Ezekiel. Bear with me. In Ezekiel 28. Ezekiel 28. Matter of fact, I'm going to start at 1. The point is in verse 5, but I'm going to start at 1. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, Thus saith the Lord of God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am God, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man, and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. Going into the godlike complex that Esau Edom has. All right, because Esau, he's basically the spiritual prince of Tyrus, you know, which I'm not mistaken was a Hamite. All right. You know, of course, America being known as America is spiritual Egypt, you know, so of course it would make sense. All right. Verse 3 says, Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thine understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So you see, that was the point there, because I was going to make the point, and I'll probably title this video something along the lines of how, you know, the city of traffic is being cut off. And, you know, America being a consumer nation. All right. And, you know, with this whole terrorist is going to do more harm than good. All right. If there's any good, you know, if there is any good. All right. Because with that being said, as it's been said, as it's being reported, Hong Kong basically shutting down basically they're going to, you know, cut certain resources off as far as the medical supplies, medications and things of that nature, which of course, if you have any sense, that's going to be a major blow to the healthcare system. All right. You know, that in itself will lead to all type of that will definitely be have a major domino effect, you know, because, you know, if you can imagine these people, being that these people are all doped up, you know, these people are heavily sedated. I always reference this, I always use this. Now, of course, this is going into the missiles. After the missiles, when it's all said and done, the missiles have dropped. All right, it's going to completely displace America into a desert, you know, when the dust settles, so to say. All right. And it's going to leave this place a habitation for satires, screech owls, and things of that nature. So that's what ultimately this is going into here. But I'll always use it in reference to even before the missiles drop, America is already a place of just, as I like to say, just one big mental health asylum. You know, and me being myself in the past, working in the mental health field, you know, going through that experience, you know, those mental health patients, those are definitely demons. All right. You know, because when those cats, man, when they're off those meds, man, those demons definitely take over, you know. So, you know, being a witness to that, that's why I like to compare America to being one big mental health asylum. And, you know, these Babylonians, they're nothing but mental health patients that are sedated as of right now. But when the meds stop coming, all right, you know, and when the healthcare system overall is completely affected, boy, oh boy. But Revelation 18:2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and it's become a habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. So like I said, to qualify, going into the missiles, that's going to turn, the missiles are going to turn America into a place where not mankind will ever dwell again, but more so, again, unclean beasts, all right, and things of that nature. But the point being to mention that being a habitation of devils, because America's already defiled. Like I said, America's already a mental health asylum, all right, and it's filled with nothing but mental health patients that are sedated as of right now. But once these meds stop coming, rather, hey, Lord willing, we can just, spiritually speaking, sit back and enjoy the show, have our spiritual popcorn ready and things of that nature, but this will have devastating effects, and on another note, that's why it's important, it's crucial for those of us in the know to have our health on point. I've said this before. Me dealing with health issues myself, I try my best to, stay away from Esau's medical system. All right. The Lord puts certain brothers through certain situations for a reason, to where, you gotta, deal. All right. You might have to take certain medications or whatever the case may be. But with all that being said, like I said, the Lord has it to where brothers are becoming very knowledgeable with the herbs, because the time of America's collapse will happen in our lifetime. All right. And like when you read different accounts, I'll go to this. It was that Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees. Because I always talk about how, of course, Esau, certain things, certain medical conditions or whatever the case may be, Esau will try to invoke that fear tactic of he'll try to, basically get you dependent and reliant upon him and his system, because there is no such thing as an incurable disease. All right. And oftentimes, you'll go to the doctor, or people will go to the doctor, and, Esau will hit you with one of those, we don't have a cure, and so on and so forth. But Yahweh Bashim Shai has something for everything. All right. There's no such thing as an incurable disease. All right. And I'm going to say this is, I'm not giving out any type of medical advice. All right. And secondly, fair use. All right. This is strictly for informational purposes. All right. I'm not giving out any type of medical advice. It's just my opinion. All right. But the Lord has something for everything out there. All right. And again, the fact that the Lord has brothers getting used to, knowledgeable with the herbs and things of that nature, because that time is going to come. All right. That's why I'm read one of accounts that brothers could possibly be put in. As a matter of fact, brothers will be put in certain situations too. Examples like this here in Second Maccabees 5 and verse 27. But Judas Maccabeus with none others or thereabout, withdrew himself into the wilderness and lived in the mountains after the manner of beast with his company, who fed on herbs continually, lest they should be partakers of the pollution. So you see, as again, the time of this collapse we will see in our lifetime, the time of conveniency will be done away with. All right, because that's one thing. It's about to get real uncomfortable for everyone. All right, including us, those of the hopefully elect. You know, and there will be a time when they, because you have certain brothers that are knowledgeable. They can go outside in their backyard and look at certain plants, certain herbs, and straight up tell you the name of that plant or whatever the case may be. How to use it or whatever. And that, like I said, certain brothers will be put in positions to where having that knowledge, all right, of the herbs, it will be useful, because right now we're just rehearsing. All right. But the training wheels are coming off. All right. And again, it is the time of conveniency is coming to an end. It's about to get extremely uncomfortable. All right. Especially when these people don't have access to their medications and things of that nature. Isaiah 19 and verse 14. Yahweh hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every way thereof, Slakia. And they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. And when you go into that perverse spirit, it goes into basically real uncomfortable, basically, like I mentioned. All right. Yeah, because when you go into that, because some of the definitions, it just says distorting, perverting, warping, which, because the scriptures talk about how the Lord won't put on us more than we can deserve, or Slakia. The Lord won't put on us more than we can bear. The Lord knows how to bend us just enough to where we don't break. But on the flip side of that, vice versa, the Lord's gonna break these people. The Lord's gonna fold these people like a beach chair. All right, it is gonna get real uncomfortable for these people. All right, real distorting. Like the definitions here say. All right. The Lord's gonna really humble these people, and that's what's coming. All right. So, man, when you, like I said, man, when you, because the scriptures talk about meditating that terror, and that's why the demonstration is needed, because what words don't teach, adversity will. And that's exactly what's getting ready. That's exactly what Yahweh Shema Shah is getting ready to bring. All right. The whole world, quite frankly, is about to be beaten into submission. Now, the Wadi Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah, we've been, the Lord, put the spirit on us to take advantage now. All right. We'd rather get our ass whooped now while the Lord is still showing his mercy, versus when the real adversity comes. All right. And there is no mercy, because one way or the other, we gonna have to submit, Now, again, thankfully, we're subjected to hope. All right. The Lord subjects us to hope, but one way or the other. All right. These people, they're going to feel it. All right. So going to this in Ezekiel. Bear with me as I get my bearings. Ezekiel Ezekiel 14. Ezekiel 14 and 21. For thus saith the Lord power, how much more when I send my four sore judgments upon Jerusalem, the sword and the famine and the noisome beast and the pestilence, to cut off from it man and beast. Because like I mentioned with America being Egypt, spiritual Egypt, the same things that we see today, all right, it's the same thing, you know, basically in a roundabout way that took place back in ancient Egypt, as far as an economy collapse, all right, pestilences, diseases, sicknesses, and things of that nature. It's the same thing, all right. That's why it tells you in Ezra's, second Ezra's, how the Lord, he's going to bring those plagues back as he did before in Egypt. I wanted to get this word. That word, because I mentioned the four sword judgments. I want to get that word sore, which goes into the Hebrew word. The Hebrew word being rai, which goes into, of course, evil, you know, which is part of the curses that we put up or should be putting up every day, you know, about Shema Shalak Rayam, right? You know, send those evils, right? And some of the definitions, of course: distress, misery, injury, calamity, hurt, man, giving pain, unhappiness. Yeah, because the Lord's about to bring the hurt, right? Some of the definitions, and the Strong's definitions, because like I mentioned, what words don't teach, adversity will. And that is one of the definitions here in the Strong's definition. It says adversity, affliction, right? All these words are good, you know. One of the words that sticks out to me is noisome, right? Because what's that? When you go here to Isaiah, that word noisome, it reminds me of this here in Isaiah. Isaiah 29 and 6, thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, right? And when you go into this word, that great noise, because Yahweh Bashim Shai is really about to bring hell on earth, man. And America is about to be the worst place to be. And so when you go into this word noise, it goes into the Strong's definitions, just to get to the point. The Strong definition, it says, from an unused root, meaning to call aloud, a voice or sound, bleating, crackling, cry, or cry out, lightness. So you see, when I think about those words, because like a bleating, that's a very bitter, sore cry. You know, scripture say that men shall be as women, like women in that day. You know, or a woman when she gives birth, she lets out a certain bleating in a way. You know, like a certain scream. You know. And you know, women, you know, when they get loud, you know, women, because, you know, A woman's natural defense is to scream, is to yell, is to make noise, you know. But when a woman, when she's in pain, when she's in serious agony, such as giving birth, she lets out a certain, you know, she can let out a certain noise, you know, a certain cry, right? And again, men are going to be like that in that day, you know. There were some videos in the chat I posted in a while back to brothers, man, about these little baby goats, man, getting devoured by these Komodo dragons. Because, you know, those goats, those sheep, they sound, when they scream, they sound a lot similar to humans, you know. And the scream that those goats were letting out as they were getting devoured alive, man, that's something I've never heard before, you know. Something that's kind of ingrained in my mind, you know. It's like, damn, I've never heard any creature, you know, make a noise like that. Well, hey, you know, that bleating, that crying aloud, man. Hey, you know, there's gonna be a certain noise out here, you know. And like I mentioned, men are gonna be as women in that day, you know. So, man, the Lord's really getting ready to bring the adversity, the pain, the affliction. All right. The Lord's really getting ready to bring the hurt, and we're seeing the details, you know, like I just read about that, the four sword judgments. We know there's going to be famine. We know there's going to be pestilences. All right. You know, we know the things that are coming. We're seeing how it's playing out more and more. All right. With the deteriorating of the infrastructure, right? The medical system, the healthcare system, and so on and so forth, where we're seeing the details play out, you know, because we've been given that general overlook, you know, but we're seeing more and more the details of how these things are going to play out, you know, and everything is adding up. Everything is coming together like one big, beautiful Picasso, you know. So everything's coming together beautifully through the power of Yahweh Shema Shai. And this is just another blow to America and how America is crumbling from the inside out. So, like I said, man, this is going to be this would be a devastating blow, you know, to America, to these Babylonians. All right. And like I said, Lord willing, we're at that number. We just sit back and just, you know, have our spiritual popcorn ready, because all this death, destruction, all the calamity, all these things are for the wicked. Like it tells in Sirach 40:9. All these things are for the wicked. All right. So, Lord willing, this was edifying. All praises to you. How about Shema Shai? Shalom to you. Hopefully, like.